and welcome to this week's edition of World Today. We are in Crimea and I'm Geeta Mohan. In this week's edition, we'll be talking about the critical infrastructure here in Crimea. The Crimean Peninsula is and has been a hotbed of power struggle between Russia and Ukraine since 2014 when it was annexed by Russia. We also travel to Sevastopol, which is a critical part of the city, one of the largest cities in Crimea, and holds the Black Sea Fleet at the Sevastopol naval base. Here's a report. We are at the entrance of Sevastopol city and will be headed to the naval base. The only warm water naval base of Russia, a critical infrastructure and one that plays a very important role in this war between Russia and Ukraine. This is an India Today exclusive, the first Indian channel to reach Sevastopol naval base, one of the most important naval bases for Russia, a warm water naval base. You can see the ships behind me very clearly. This is one of the most important strategic positions for Russia. This is where they have a stronghold over the Black Sea, the Sea of Azov, and Crimea becomes very important because of this infrastructure, critical infrastructure for Russia, and Russia is controlling waters around the Black Sea in this region because of this very important naval base. We'll go in and show you exactly what the infrastructure looks like and how this allows military, naval strength to Russia. The Sevastopol naval base is an important infrastructure for Russia and is a projection of Russia's naval power in the global platform. It is Russia's Black Sea Fleet that operates out of this naval base, which is crucial and very important. It has seen a flurry of activity since the year 2008 and has only heightened now in 2022. It is the Black Sea Fleet that also is operational and has huge, tremendous operational capability when it comes to its immediate area. For example, the blockade that this fleet could provide during war with Georgia is an example of how important and crucial this very naval base is. Russia's capacity to reach the seas is limited by geography. Therefore, the ports in South and North Seas are very, very important, which makes the Sevastopol naval base, which is where we are, absolutely crucial. Now, in the war between Russia and Ukraine, this is the very same base that is being used, warships being sent forward in the Black Sea, submarines being sent forward. The shores around Odessa are absolutely mined, and therefore there are obstacles. But if this war continues and if it takes a turn to a naval war between Russia and Ukraine, between Sevastopol and Odessa, then this certainly is going to be that very naval base which will be critical in Russia's military might and Russia's strength in taking on Ukraine. The eastern Ukraine, parts of eastern Ukraine have been taken, but Odessa still is under Ukrainian control. If Odessa falls, then Ukraine will not only lose a port, but will become landlocked, will lose its navy. And Russia will gain not one, but two ports. In Crimea, things have changed significantly since 2014. In preparation for the Victory Day celebrations, you see the Soviet victory flag atop the Parliament building here. And that really shows how Crimea, Russia are trying to, again, talk about unification and how they were all part of the erstwhile Soviet Union. We traveled to Bakhchysarai, an area in central Crimea where majority of the population are from the Tatar Muslim community. take a look at how they live and how Russia, Crimea are trying to look at unification in diversity and trying to bring diverse cultures and populations together, despite the problem when it comes to Ukraine and Russia and the conflict within and in between the two states. On the way from Simferopol to Sevastopol is this town in central Crimea known as Bakhchysarai, which means Garden Palace. This is a very unique place because this primarily is, you see the look of this place is quite Turkish in the influence and has majority of the Tatar Muslim population here in Crimea. A majority, a huge number of population in terms of the influence and an entire set of people here in Crimea. Tatar population, this Muslim community, is very important and influential, and they are also very connected to Kherson in Ukraine, which is where you also will see a lot of Tatar population. Now the palace that you see behind me is called the Khan's Palace. This again comes from the 16th century Crimean Khans, and this entire region is very important because it is influential in terms of set of people. But if you look around, if you go around over here, there is a lot of Turkish influence. The food, very West Asian, very different from the rest of Russia, even the rest of Crimea. And again, the culture over here also, Islamic, is also very, very West Asian, very Turkish. So very interesting to see how an entire population over here looks very different, eats a very different kind of food, and is a major influencing population here in Crimea. This is a store in Bakhchysarai, and if you look at the stuff over here, you can see the influence. Turkish, West Asian influence, the metals, the kettle, the kind of stuff that you see over here, you'd see if you're traveling to the West Asian parts of the world, to Turkey, and many other places. But over here, of course, the shop has a lot of collection, some from India as well, quite interesting. But most of it over here, if you see, beautiful work, which is very local to Bakhchysarai. That's the jewelry section over here. The metal ware over here is all local to Bakhchysarai. Again, the influence is Islamic, the influence is West Asian, that's from the Middle East, particularly Persian and Turkish. So we see the influence, and we know that this is a city, a town, unbelievably different from other parts of Crimea and Russia, and yet they are a very important population in Crimea, an influential lot, and you see that with the kind of force that they have in terms of the political structure and how the political leadership backs the Tatar population here in Bakhchysarai. The Russianization of Crimea is near complete. This peninsula is not going back to Ukraine, despite what Ukraine really wants. But there are other parts now captured by Russian forces, which are beyond Donbass and Crimea. And there we see Russianization, de-Ukrainization of those territories with the Soviet red flag, the red banner flying high in many areas. We travel to Berdyansk and Melitopol in Zaporizhia region, and there we see the visible change, the de-Ukrainization and Russianization of captured territories. Here's a report.
Third month of Russia-Ukraine war. Amid continuous assault on Ukrainian cities, Russia is reminding its captured Ukrainian territories the feel of Soviet-era rule, wiping out last remaining symbols of Ukraine. One such instance can be witnessed at the Freedom Square in captured Melitopol.
We are back in Melitopol 2 weeks, and we see a huge change at the Freedom Square here in Melitopol. You can see the communist flag going up where once the Ukrainian flag flew proudly. Below it, you can see the ribbon of George, which represents military valor and is a symbol and sign for Russia and Russian military prowess. So that George, the St. George orange and black ribbon is visible. This very same place had Melitopol written in Russian, and now all Ukrainian.
The landscape of key locations in Melitopol has been completely changed. Russian Army's Kazakh regiment has been stationed at the Freedom Square ahead of the May 9 Victory Day celebrations.
The red Victory Soviet banner is up here at the Freedom Square. The entire landscape of this Freedom Square has changed from the time we had visited here last time. We see the Kazakh regiment over here in place. This is preparation for the Victory Day celebrations that will be taking place on the 9th of May. The acting mayor, Mayor Galina, has said that there will be massive celebrations here in Melitopol. St. George's ribbon up again, something that she says was taken off the official insignia in 2014, and now it is back. While Melitopol is written in Ukrainian, we will see that change to Russian as well.
Russia, after wresting the area from Ukraine, is going all out to register its staying presence.
The blue and yellow of the fountain has completely changed. It's now aqua green and blue. The colors of Ukrainian flag absolutely removed from this entire Melitopol area. That's the Freedom Square. And you can hear the Russian songs, Russian national songs, victory songs, military songs. Katyusha playing right behind me, a song that has been an inspiration for all the officers who have been here and who have been fighting. Melitopol certainly does not seem like it is going to go back to Ukraine. The colors have changed, and so has the atmosphere here in the city of Melitopol.
Russian troops are slowly easing curbs to allow businesses to reopen.
In Melitopol, the skating rink, which is connected in Kiev. Kiev controls all the skating rinks in Ukraine. Kiev shut down this rink, but Melitopol administration today has opened the rink for children, and they did it manually because the automated version and the controls are in Kiev. Children are back in the rink. They look happy because it's a difficult situation, but when we're speaking to kids over here, the teenagers certainly not happy with the situation. It will take a long time for these territories to really understand what is really happening on the ground.
The famous Zaporizhzhia power plant, taken over by the Russian forces, is still being run by Ukrainian officials.
This is the training center that came under the crossfire between Ukraine and Russian forces. The damage is quite visible, and this was the reason why there was a huge alarm about what the safety and security of the nuclear power plant is really going to be. Massive damage over there, if you can see the building, but it is far away, outside the gate of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which is right in front of that training center. But that first came under attack. The strategy in all probability was that if that is the extent of damage that can be done, imagine if something happens over here, what will be the fate of the people and the region.
Russian forces, however, still face resistance from Ukrainian armies. With Geeta, Mohan in Melitopol, Bureau Report, India Today.
After the Russian forces took over the Crimean Peninsula, there has been a government in place by Russia, but this is one of the most sanctioned regions in the world. And despite that, we see a lot of students come and study here in Crimea, a lot of Indian students as well. I interacted with some of the Indian students to ask them how is it that they're still coming to Crimea when a war is on, and how are the payments being made. Here is what they had to say. I'm being joined by medical students, Indian medical students studying in Crimean University. Many thanks for joining us here on India Today. Arvind is the president of the Indian Students Association. Arvind, let me begin with you. There's a war. Crimea is right in the middle of it in terms of being a contentious area. why are you guys still here?
No, the thing is, why we are here is until now we didn't face any kind of problem, not even a single problem. Whenever we faced problem, university was in support of students, and also university said that many students were panic. So university supported and said who were panic, if they need to go home, they can go home and continue online, and they can come back when situation gets normal.
Okay, but are your parents not worried?
Not yet.
Not yet? They're not worried?
Not worried about anything because we already talked with them. We convinced them that there is no problem, there is no any condition like we need to move it from here or something. Only our university also told that it's only because of the parents like they got panic. That's the only reason the university allowed them to go back to India and study in online mode.
But Vishnu, you know, a lot of students when we spoke to in Kharkiv, they said the same thing. And what happened after that was February 24th, and a lot of Indian students got stuck. So do your parents call you every day, ask you about the situation? Should they be calling you back?
Definitely they will talk through video call every day. The thing is we communicating that we are safe here. There's absolutely no problem here. We are completely safe here because Ukraine is in under danger, but here we are completely safe. We conveyed, they understood and they said, okay, it's safe for you, then you can stay there.
But you're only a very few students who are left here. Most of the Indian students have gone back. Is that correct?
Yes.
How many?
Like almost 90% are back home.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why? What was the reason?
The reason was panic. Because when the war started, everybody panicked and the parents also panicked. So everybody, their parents called and they were like, they just got the opportunity and they went back home.
Okay. And do you think they're going to come back? Are you speaking with your friends who have gone back? Are they coming back?
Yes, they will come back again. If they are like taken to first to 5th years, they will come back again in September or the end of August. If they are 6th year, they will come back in the end of May or the starting of June because they have to come back because they need to study here.
Now on Spotlight this weekend, we have one of the most sanctioned men in the world. Sergei Aksyonov is the head of government here in Crimea, and this is what he has to say about the sanctions and how Crimea will continue to remain a part of the Russian Federation. One of the most sanctioned men in the world. I'm being joined by the head of government in Crimea, Sergei Aksyonov. Many thanks for joining us, sir. Crimea has faced severe sanctions by the international community, from across the world. In so many years, how has Crimea handled its economy?
We have to see it as a whole. It is not only about Crimea, but the whole of Russia. The main problem is to reconstruct the law from Ukrainian land to the Russian land. There is no high investment due to corrupt Ukrainian officials. It was an ideological choice to live in their own country and to keep their tradition and to stand by the people. As we know, Russian language is prohibited in Ukraine, and there are 3 official languages in Crimea: Russian, Ukrainian, and Crimean.
Very important over here is the fact that Crimea has been the core of the problem since 2014. Ukraine continues to maintain that Crimea is a part of Ukraine, and that's non-negotiable. Then where can we see peace between Russia and Ukraine?
На самом деле Крым российский, это право граждан высказать было свою волю и решить.
People in Crimea have the right to vote. 96% of the people say they want to be part of Russia. So what can we talk about? They resist us to take a decision. So there can be no negotiation on this topic. It should be recognized by the international community.
But they lost, the reason why Ukraine is concerned is because they lost a very critical strategic land. Crimea has a naval base, and losing a naval base has been rather huge for Ukraine. That certainly is one of the reasons why they wanted to hold on to Crimea.
But the rights of the Russians or the Ukrainians are problematic. Civilian rights are higher than naval bases and other military objects. It's the right of the people to decide to live. And the Crimean people want to stand with the multinational Russian Federation. Over 90% of Crimean citizens support our President Putin. So what else is needed to prove that our people want to be with Russia?
You are one of the most sanctioned people in the world, and so are many Russian officials who are under sanction. What is your opinion of sanctions being used as a medium to curtail what a particular country wants to do or does not want to do?
As for me, I don't care about the sanctions and continue to do what I need to do. I am happy and I'm doing something useful for my country.
But what about the Crimean region itself being sanctioned? Now, people over here who are born here can't travel out. Students who are studying here, if they're studying international relations or medicine, they can't go to many countries for further studies. So there are huge limitations to your own people.
Очень нормально справляются. Еще раз говорю, это был идеологический выбор.
It's an ideological choice. For example, if Indian people are given a choice to prohibit their language and culture, what will they choose?
Скажут, а взамен этого предложат путешествовать. Как вы думаете, граждане Индии согласятся?
On that note, many thanks for joining us here on India Today. That's Sergei Aksyonov speaking exclusively to India Today. The British journalist in Sevastopol, Crimea, Geeta Mohan for India Today. Shifting focus from Crimea and the Russia-Ukraine war, here are some other stories from across the world in World at a Glance.
Russian student Sofia Sapega sentenced to 6 years in jail by a Belarusian court. Earlier, she and her journalist partner were removed from Ryanair plane and arrested. The court found her guilty of inciting social enmity and discord. Sri Lankan police fired tear gas and water cannon at students who were trying to storm the parliament. The country is witnessing trade union strikes, demanding the government to step down. They want the president and the Sri Lankan government to take responsibility for the financial crisis that has hit the country. Corinne Jean-Pierre will soon replace Jen Psaki as the White House press secretary. She will be the first black and openly gay person to serve in public service in the US administration.
Preparations, as you see, are underway for the May 9th Victory Day celebrations here in the Crimean Peninsula. With that, it's time for me to say goodbye. Take care.